goodness. What shall I ramble on for today? Just so it can fit within the video title. And it's actually going to be really long, considering, like, maybe it's clickbait, maybe it's not. But excuse the layout for how I within the OBS, because with me, I assume while I'm doing like visual novel read-throughs that I'm just mainly playing up Grand Blue Fantasy on the side, and some bit of side recordings here and there when it's not to Umineko. Because I have a lot of those like videos that I had like pre-recorded, and they just sit there for quite a long time. So it's mostly just a shit post zone. Because there's a lot of things to mess around with in YouTube's algorithm. But yeah, today, man, last and yesterday was a hot day, so it's more of like I get up and I feel really groggy during the during the weather. So hope so, but when I check the weather, it's going to cool down quite a lot. So think surely. But anyway, here's some few off-topic notions I wanted to top off since my read-through of Umineko. First of all, I've gained over several dozen subscribers for over the past year. I've started the question arc. It's a bit odd of how the YouTube algorithm works, just because of most of the recent videos I tend to upload and mess around. Because I do re-upload music on the sideline, and usually you get like recommended and ends up in like suggested videos from others whenever I check the YouTube analytics. Especially with my old videos too, because usually my old content tends to be you know be shown in like recommended or related videos, even though some most of my old videos are pretty cringe. So actually, no, most of my old videos are cringy. Yeah. So to the ones that follow this channel, I thank you for spending the time of having the good of seeing me goof around at various occasions. Basically, my uploading schedule tends to be like usually scheduled like every couple days or so. When it comes to like doing playthroughs and or read-throughs, or maybe I also tend to mess around with YouTube Shorts as well. So maybe there's that, and usually some sort of like video highlights just to fuck around. There's also content farming when it comes to like doing reaction videos. So there's that too. Even though most of my friends are usually against that because it's usually tend to be lazy. But there's that. But not everyone has the free time, especially when I'm at half asleep. As of right now, like I usually have my coffee with me. So now the long actual rant will begin because within my talking about the Umineko question arc and why I have some sort of like kind of meh feelings here and there when it comes to getting feedback. I maybe say something off-putting or polarizing to where I may lose some followers here and there, but what can you do? It's just opinions. Um, so far, Umineko when they cry for a visual novel that I completed halfway in. Very entertaining read. I do love the visuals of it. Have not did I've not reread the one with the very old art style. I don't want to play the Steam version of it because it's like I heard some people don't like the new art as much. Even though I have like one friend that kind of liked it because it kind of fit the looks on Beatrice or Beatrice, however you call it. Apparently, I was looking at YouTube comments and it was like, oh, like this is you were supposed to pronounce Beatrice or some shit. I was like, Beatrice. I mean, does it really matter? Does it again? But I'll get to that. The problem I have for myself is most of the reading dialogue in which I make an attempt to understand usually comes off as very convoluted, especially for like casual readers, and it becomes a slow process. And well, knowing that having to make an attempt of solving like mystery and finding clues here and there can be well a bit much for my brain to be like half asleep to handle to like try to like have the neurons to activate it. It's like, oh yeah, now I get it. Now keep in mind that some of the quote unquote like mixed feedback or negative feedback as I had where I was called the polar soul are the same ones that never read it before. And keep in mind it was on Discord too. Yeah, I don't get why. Part of my theories that go on in their head of why they talk like that was either the visual novel is too long because well, keep in mind like the question arc and the answer arc both combined is over 100 is around roughly 150 hours total. Now it's usually not necessarily the case because I have like I have an IRL friend, well, a few IRL friends that speed read it, and they because they were able to get it. Yeah, they're. I have one friend that got episodes. They're halfway in with episode 6, and hopefully he doesn't spoil me on that. I usually whenever he like he whenever my IRL friend like texts me when it comes to Umineko, he's just like he only show me some amusing images that are from like episode 1 to 4. So I tell him not to fucking spoil me on that. But yeah, um, so yeah, there's that with the visual novel being too long. Even though okay, here's the thing though, I'm pretty sure there are a lot of games that are out there that are also as long as that. So I don't really get the logic. I mean, I guess I'm comparing like apples and oranges at this point. Or maybe it's because the fandom of Umineko is like toxic or some shit. Well, I don't know much about it. Like, I don't know much about being fandom as a whole because the only time I interact with like people that are into that sort of niche is on Twitter. Well, it's X because of the fucking Elon, and yeah, Discord. Well, that aside, like, it honestly doesn't really matter anymore. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, again, like me doing that read through, I'm not convincing others to actually try it out yourself. It's more of like whenever I do a read through in Mineko, it's like I want to see how much entertainment value I'm gonna get out of it. It's like I'm not gonna sit there and make a bit of a gripe of it. It doesn't like I ain't gonna force it. You know? Although it is one of those problems that sometimes occur where I had a couple of you tell me how I should read the visual novel rather than me having to do it my own way of thinking. Because remember, like last year when I titled the video and I made a thumbnail, it's like, "Am I reading this wrong?" And there isn't really a right way of reading it. But when you're when you want if you are interested in reading this, it's more it be expect the dialogue to where that you have to challenge you. Otherwise, you're gonna just sit there and be like, "Well, what the fuck is this?" Because as far as I know, when I got to like around episode 3 and onward, you're just sitting there like, "Okay, what the fuck kind of like argument I have to construct?" You know, this whole mystery stuff type of stuff, and it can be very discouraging. Like for me, I feel like it's not my really not my kind of thing. And then I had like some pretty snooty attitudes, like, well, why don't you just give up on reading? This is a fucking This is entertaining content. Like the only thing I loved about it is like the fucking character dynamic to it, and there are like the amusement, you know. Speaking of attempting the method of thinking, the comments I got earlier that resulted to where I didn't remember the message bottle incident. I did went back and reread the game result of episode one. Well, I didn't really went back and reread. I just went to the part where I was criticized for my outlandish commentary. I did admit I was a bit ignorant on when it comes to battle. I mean, then again, like Battler did get a little bit better of having to like go up against the fucking Witch of the Sword. But he some of the arguments he had it could be pretty goofy at times. Um, Maria was the one, according to the when it comes to the message board, Maria was the one that wrote out the message to where her wish requests to others to uncover the truth of the Rokujima incident. It's my basic attempts of attempting to solve mysteries like these beforehand comes as very minuscule to where like I can be confused when it comes to finding clues of the story. Like I honestly like, man, I have no words with this. It's one of those sort of notions in which my thinking when it comes to synopsis usually takes me a bit to like refresh my memory. I don't tend to go and reread, but instead like I go back to the parts of my read through to not only see what I missed within those parts of the story, but to also see what commentary that comes off as like pretty amateur to me because like I think like was it episode no, I feel like episode 3 and episode 4 was like pretty bad. Well, I mean, in fact, like I guess like all four like combined. Because again, like I have like over 150 parts like uploaded. Because I don't tend to like upload in the entirety of like one chapter is like 2 hours each. Because I've seen like whenever I like type up like Umineko read through I see like videos that are like 2 to 3 hour duration. I was like, oh god, I don't know if I could even do that unless I have to like put in like certain stuff timestamps. So is that then again I have to go through so yeah I have to go through so many parts. Like there are certain stuff that can be like difficult for me to understand. So I was like, okay, well, closed door stuff. Yeah, yeah, I have to like go back and reread that, and then the whole well, the red truth can be make you befuddled because it feels like okay, is a red truth a narrative or is this literally just like just 17 because I already know that 17 people on this island and but you know okay, I can understand that anyone can cross dress that certain character and just murder people, but it's like okay, well, how do you how do people get away with it? I not only enjoy Umineko as a work of art with an original soundtrack, but I also love character dynamics. I love like seeing character interaction and put my simple choice of judgment. That'll be in the Umineko character tier list question arc edition if I can build up if I if I try to build up my confidence. That is because you know the thing is about tier list videos is like it can be pretty mean and then like okay, admittedly for me I can be biased, right? But it's like there are certain like whenever I look after I read the question arc edition that I already did. I mean, luckily I don't even know half of these fucking characters that were shown in the answer arc, so I was like, I didn't get spoiled. That's for damn sure. But I want to do a tier list for the question arc for characters, and then I want to do it for the answer arc afterwards. Is to be like, okay, maybe I'll change my mind on certain things. Maybe I can like acknowledge, right? Um, while the VN is in the same content creation as Higurashi, it also has way more characters than I had expected. Although it is made when it comes to Higurashi and mean, I already did like 5 to 6 chapters of the read through when it comes to Higurashi. Um, I always thought that Higurashi and Umineko is like both are different verse, but part of me thinks it's like combined all together in which it's like okay maybe, but it's like the story concept is different, right? It's like okay, well, there are there are certain characters that kind of have like bit of references to it, like Burn Castle as the example, and then uh, Okanogi from the fourth episode or whatever the fuck it is. So I was like, okay, well, when I seen the name, it's like, have I heard this from before? And so there's that. But yeah, Umineko, like every episode, like just more characters like added on later on. Um, the stuff to listen to can be pretty insane when it comes to characters. Like the whole Ushiro Miya family, when it comes to like older adults as a whole, is a huge complication within the discourse because older adults just love to like do verbal arguments in which like their greed consumes them to where like they lack the theory crafting solution when it comes to splitting the inheritance of the wealth. And I'll tell you that when I'm gonna say this, you're better off being pretty like sitting on the fence because I'll tell you this: all older adults are in the wrong no matter what. Um, Pretty sure when it comes to witches and demons as a whole, that gets introduced in later episodes, tends to get more and more interesting because of how it correlates to not only Battler but the humans that attempt to defend themselves, in which it can be counterproductive when it comes to humans versus fiction. Although a part of me, within a reader's perspective, like me, could think that there are some humans that can tend to be like disguised as part of evil within suspicion. I could be wrong, but there's that. Um, the game board logic. When it comes to the game board logic that is constructed by Beatrice itself, it's more or less sophisticated. I kind of know the basics of it, and there are like rules that just adds onto it, which is like, okay, well, you gotta give me time to fucking understand this shit. Like, there's not only the red truth to get used to, and then like the Hempel's Raven, in which like you have to, and then the one where you have to convince the opponent to say it in red, and then there is also the blue truth added later on, especially when it comes to like the whole debate tactic. It's like politics, but this is like if I'm trying to like whether the Bible is believable or some shit. There tends to be things to be learned there, whether it be like the Schrodinger's cat box, the Braun tube logic that was on episode 3, even though I tended to find it a bit silly at times, and the whatchamacallit, the close the door fucking situation. Like I said, the fucking closed door just had me like, okay, there's no trap there. Okay, when there's a trap thing and then the explosive and okay, terrorism, yada yada, and then or maybe there's like some okay. I always thought I can construct like some sort of argument because according to episode 4, there's like on the island of Rokujima, there is like two paths within the dock. One is like from the front, from the one area where like the where part of the family visits to for the Ushiromiya family conference or like reunion of the sort, and then there's the other dock that's like somewhere around there, where like the servants tend to like pick up the resupplies of like you know food and other stuff, right? So I thought I could make like some sort of shit, but apparently that's not really the case because I guess in red I can't even make that argument. or or say in the blue. As a casual Umineko reader like myself, I feel like I fell for the magic theory bait more so because to where I it easily falls into incompetence, like the whole Battler meme thing. But to me, I think the whole point is not only like deny the existence of fantasy theories, but to construct a narrative from a human perspective to where anything can be, where anything can be a possibility with a very small chance. So it's not only like it's like yo, you have to believe in that shit. It's like it's all about like back and forth persuasion. Like again, this is just like a bit of a political debate, which is not necessarily the 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 right comparison to make, but there's that. Um, but yeah, when I said like the speed reading part, like I had an IRL friend who's way ahead in like reading a Buneko than I do because he tends to speed read it through. But for me, I just only just recorded, on the side. But he sort of understands the concept of what the story is about, despite how vague the. I don't know if there were clues I had to like look up through and just write it down for later on because it can be a bit vague and sophisticated content with especially with the whole there's only 17 again there's only 17 people on this island yada yada in which I tried to attempt that but it felt as more of like I'm befuddled in a way. I don't know, but yeah, reading of it can be very discouraging of the sort, and you know that's and that's how it goes, right? Because you're basically like, oh, like you might as well solve it. Because here's the thing, though, right? I try to solve it, but it's gotta take me like few hours to like fucking like come up come right come up with like certain theories here and there. But because I had like several theories that I wanted to say and off the top of my head, but I know it's gonna be really stupid, and I really didn't. I don't want to be like you know judged with this various consumption of of the read through. But that should be it. I really wanted to discuss this more through and through, but I guess assumingly that I might as well take the L within that rather than like make it so that I with what I'm trying to say is I think I guess within like the whole over 20 minutes in of my rambling, I think I'd rather like take the L and move on rather than like try to find some sort of like attempt to solve a mystery in order to die on that specific hill. I I will. The character tier list is a maybe because the one stupid thing I saw was that like whenever it comes to like um the character's body language to be like that comes off as really negative is like, oh, it must be the control of the demon, in which I find it bullshit because there's a thing where a person have little to no self-control, and that seems to be like you're on that rabbit hill to where like you're not your sort of mentality to not be fixed, but that'll be explained within the characters later on. But you know the next time, by the time I'm done recording, I will see whether I'll get on to starting up episode 5 aka the answer arc. So hopefully you'll be looking forward to that. Also, if not, then I will tend to continue uploading and shit posting more on my YouTube channel on the side. So maybe you'll be interested in that kind of stuff. Maybe won't. Maybe not. So with that said, um, I hope you all have a good day or night, whichever time zone you're currently on. And yeah, I'm enjoying it right now. I think it's like pretty interesting for me to like, you know, say things at the top of my head. Hopefully, hopefully I don't come off as like, oh, I'm giving up on my thinking because again like, um, I want to you know, have proper understanding that no matter what, because it's pretty interesting. It's not for everyone, all right. That's the thing. All right. With that said, I'll see you all later. Have a good one.